and welcome to Squad, your source for esports and gaming. Today, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna get heated. It's gonna get heavy and a bit leaguey, but instead of trying to decipher what leaguey means, why don't I just give you a rundown? We're gonna have Marissa and Brody face off in Unmuted, where they're gonna give us their takes on the top stories in the industry, as well as a Halo-inspired Arma 3 mod in Mod Stars, and Kold will be joining Lisa and Matt in Esports in 30. But first, let me get you caught up on the news. The Katowice Major ended a few weeks ago, which means it's now time for another CSGO roster shuffle. Let's break down all the highlights as quick as we can. Mouse Sports has added Kerrigan, Woxic, and Frozen to its roster. Kerrigan was the in-game leader for FaZe Clan, who have not performed well at all over the past year. Gambit is undergoing a small rebuild as it dropped its rifler, Bondic, and its coach, Blade, over the weekend. Meanwhile, Hellraisers added Oscar and coach LMBT. Both were members of Hellraisers back in 2016 before they left to join Mouse Sports that year. Lastly, Cloud9 is reported to have recruited Config and Yugi to its roster. If C9 wants to make these changes, they have to do so before the ESL Pro League roster lock today. We'll be sure to keep you updated on any more CSGO roster changes over the coming weeks. North American Street Fighter Pro K-Brad has found a new home. The Cammy and G player joined Rise Nation just before the start of Final Round 2019. K-Brad is best known for his time on Evil Geniuses, though he last played for Ghost Gaming before being dropped from the org last year. K-Brad also hasn't had the best results recently, as he was ranked 81st on the 2018 Capcom Pro Tour. As for how K-Brad did at Final Round, he tied for 65th place, so saying it wasn't great would be an understatement. Despite this, he's one of the most popular NA players, and he's sure to attract some fans to Rise as a result. One of the best Dota 2 teams is out in the first round of the Dream League Major playoffs. Team Liquid lost their first playoff match against the South American Chaos Esports Club after being relegated to the lower bracket in the group stage. Admittedly, the match was a best of one, but tying for last place at one of the biggest tournaments of the year still stings. Liquid also isn't the only top-tier team who is struggling. Virtus Pro and Evil Geniuses began the playoffs in the upper bracket, but lost their respective matches and now find themselves in do-or-die best-of-3s in the lower bracket. It looks like this major will have some upsets, and I can't wait to see which team will come out on top. Congrats to our man K-Brad with the new signing. What do you guys think of Rise's new addition? Let us know on our socials at Squad State. In a bit, we're going to take a look at a Halo-inspired Arma 3 mod in Mod Stars. But first, let's check out what Marissa and Brody are arguing about today in Unmuted.
Welcome to Unmuted. We got your esports and gaming hot topics, a couple of opinions, and a mute button. I'm Marissa Roberto.
And I am internet sensation Brody Moore. What's up, chat? We want you guys betting as well who you think's going to be using this mute button first. Press 1 for me or 2 for little Miss Pooh.
Oh, that's nice. If you have no freaking clue what he's talking about, that's cool. You're new. Welcome. Me and Dummy over here are going to be discussing gaming topics, clips, and memes, everything. But if one of us says something stupid, then one of us can mute that person for 30 seconds.
Jesus, and while we're going through the top stories of the day, we only get 2 minutes on the clock.
Well, then we should stop wasting time and get to it. Kicking us off, Blizzard has announced when the Overwatch League will begin city-based play. So exciting. During South by Southwest, last weekend, OWL Commissioner Nate Nanzer says that teams will move to their home cities in 2020. Matches will be scheduled in tours so that teams can minimize travel time by playing several matches in one region before going home. The league will host 3 home games in different cities this year as a test for next year. So, Brody Moore. Even though this has been in the talks now for OWL since its inception, I know we're only in year 2, of course. Do you think this will be a good thing for the league or a bad thing for the league?
I think it's interesting. So I've said it a million times, and I guess I'll say it again in case there is anybody new. The OWL while hard to watch, the gameplay is a great structure. They've done a lot of really good things. The first thing I always tell people to ever do when they get into esports, just pick a team. Okay, just pick a team and now start cheering. OWL has done a great job of that by making them city-based things, right? City-based teams. Now it's like, okay, I'm near this city. You know, if you're near Houston, just vote or cheer for the Outlaws, right? Like it works really well.
Pick a city, run with it.
Yeah, and so now expanding on that, much like traditional sports, it's like the teams travel all the time, right? So I don't see an issue with the travel. A lot of people are like, oh, players are going to be tired. I mean, athletes can do that, right?
Yeah, for sure. These players are kind of making LA their base. Obviously, they're hanging out in LA now. It's all good. But when it comes to city play, I feel like feels bad for the Toronto Defiant because, we let them experience winter here recently, as they're not actually from Toronto, and it was something for them to behold, that's for sure. I do like the fact that people in Toronto, since we're in Toronto, I will use us as an example, we can come together and go to games together and cheer for a home team, and they'll have the home team at their back. Like, this is exactly what we need. This is what Overwatch doesn't necessarily need because they already have a great audience base right now. We've got people tuning in from around the world, so exciting. The only issue, of course, is the time zone thing.
I was going to say,
there are obviously teams on the other side of the world, and so when they play on the other side of the world, it's going to be an interesting situation.
That is the only argument I can see against it is that the time zones are drastic in a lot of like sports leagues, NFL, NHL. They're within absurd 3-hour time zones, right? It's not that bad to go east to west. You're going all the way over to China though from North America or vice versa. That is going to be hard.
Okay, time's up, Brady.
Okay, time's up. We'll go on to something else. In another announcement out of Austin, LCS Commissioner Chris Grilly said that 100 Thieves is the poster child for new orgs. Grilly said that 100 Thieves has a great content and brand strategy and is one of the most successful orgs from a financial perspective. For reference, 100 Thieves has only won a single game in the past 10 matches, though. So my question for you, for a franchised spot like that in the LCS, is it better to have good branding or is it better to be winning games? I mean, clearly investors like that you look good.
Yeah, for sure. Like, investors want you to win, yes, but more than anything, having a good brand is money in the bank. You have people following all of your players. You have amazing brand. Like, the marketing alone for this team is fantastic. You have an org owner who people adore. Like, you can't even really buy that, can you? Like, you think about franchises over the years, you think about like even professional teams. Like, we hold on to a dynasty because of its winning power, because of its star power. These guys have star power. All they need now to do is to win. And I think that will come obviously in time. This is still a brand new org, but we're all just looking at it with like rose-colored glasses. We love 100 Thieves.
Okay, so would really though, like if you're in the LCS and you have a team, you're making a team, would you rather that team be winning or just have no personality, people winning all the time, or great personalities that maybe aren't as good as the game?
Who wants a team to win that has no personality? Not me. Why would I want that at all? I'd rather cheer for the guys that lose. What if you can't have both? I would rather cheer for the guys that lose and have heart behind it and players that I love, an org that I love, and cheer for them. They can be underdogs forever, and I'll still cheer for them.
Should we just get rid of all the good players in the LCS and replace them with great personalities so the gameplay is lower, but at least it's really entertaining to watch?
First of all, ¿por qué no los dos? Why can't we not have winners who also have great personalities? If you want to achieve anything in the esports scene, especially because it's so new, it's so fresh, to people from the outside looking in, you gotta have personality, you gotta have that swagger, you gotta have something for people to hold on to keep coming back for more. I'm sorry, but these guys need to have great orgs behind them, and 100 Thieves is that.
What if those professionals, they're like, I don't want to try to be out there and talk to people. I just want to play my game. I want to be the best I can be. I don't want to be a personality. Okay, well then I guess rip
to you. You don't have a personality, you have nothing then. You can't even stream. How are you going to make money?
So get rid of all the good players with no personalities. That's what Marissa Roberto was saying.
I'm not saying get rid of all the players with no personalities. You need to have players that can play on your team. There's more than one person on the team.
So get one class clown. One class clown per team.
Thank you. That's exactly why we have you. Go on.
Jeez. Why am I going on?
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Tempo Storm has signed 5 players to their brand new Apex Legends team. Tempo is one of the first teams to sign Apex Legends players to their org. The game only came out 7 weeks ago, and there's no esports scene to speak of yet. So, is this too early to sign an Apex Legends player, or does Apex Legends just need an esport? Do they sense it? Is it coming? Is this making sense to you, Brody Moore?
This is a difficult one because, like, first off, yes, I think it makes sense to sign people as streamers, right? Your name's out there, people are watching. So you got 30,000 people watching a streamer, and it says your org name there. That's great. That's just all you want is exposure, and then you can sell merch through that. Now, when it comes to the esports scene, I honestly am not holding my breath on an Apex esports scene.
Why?
I really, well, again, Respawn, they make great games, but they've never really cared about the competitive side of things. I've talked about this before. In Titanfall, they were pretty active, actually, on shutting down any of the competitive side. They actively ignored the competitive side of things.
Okay.
And I don't know why that would change here with Apex.
Because this is maybe their first game that they can see potential in an esports scene. Just because
Titanfall could have been great.
No.
Why?
I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true, and clearly neither do they. They have people obviously from the outside looking in. They have consulting people. They have people working in the esports scene. They know what's going on. It's not like they're just like looking at all this blindly. They see where the money is. They want to go there too, but they need to wait for the right game. They need to wait for a game that people are holding on to, and Apex Legends is that game. Why not now, Brody? They can change their mind.
Because a lot of people, maybe they're waiting to make Titanfall 3 and make that the esport, and we won't see it in Apex.
What?
Maybe they think that battle royales aren't good for esports.
No, that's crazy.
How is that crazy?
Because PUBG is still a scene, you know. They're still thriving. They're still doing well. Why are you saying why can't BRs be a scene?
Are they? When was their last event? I haven't even heard of it.
The NPL is happening right now. They have a studio in LA.
And how many people knew that?
So the whole PUBG scene knows it. All of the Apex scene knows this. They're gonna have a scene, don't worry. They've got all the backing behind it. They've got money, they've got people, they've got fans. They've got a good game. Why can't it be an esport?
I didn't say it couldn't. My money's on it not, though.
Well, don't place your bets with
You know what? More chat interaction. Press 1 if yes for Apex. Press 2 if you don't think there's going to be an esports scene. I don't, we'll see.
Right.
We'll find out. Anyways, ESPN is hosting a collegiate esports tournament called the College Esports Championship, aptly named. Players from hundreds of colleges will compete in qualifiers, all for the chance to earn some scholarships. Games played include Overwatch, Street Fighter V, Hearthstone, StarCraft 2, and Heroes of the Storm. Now,
that's exciting.
This is interesting. Now, I really like the fact that there's more collegiate stuff. The question is, should they be getting prize money instead of scholarships? You know, because it's like, should they decide where they put their money?
Well, Brody Moore, let me introduce you to something called...
Learning.
Well, do you know anything about like the college basketball scene, the college football scene, any kind of college scene at all with like sports?
Nope.
Okay, so these guys make tons of dough for their colleges, for their coaches, for their scenes at school, if you will, for their locker rooms, because they're stacked. But nothing for them. Yeah. Nothing. They get $0, and it's just the way it's always been. It's a crazy market. I think it's totally unfair to the athletes. They need to do something to change it, but I cannot see now an esports scene growing and thriving where the players are getting paid if athletes playing sports aren't getting paid. How does that work?
Wait, so you think it's fair to the esports players right now?
No, I don't think it's fair.
To not get paid because they're not getting paid?
That's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying.
It sounds like that's what you're saying, Marissa Roberto.
I'm saying it would only be fair to the athletes currently playing that are making nothing if the esport athletes coming in are coming in and also not getting paid. How can these guys coming in get paid when the other guys don't? It has to be even across the board. It has to be even.
So who changes first?
I obviously think the things in place right now have to change. These players need to be getting paid, but that's obviously not up to us or up to me. I would love for it to be changed, but unfortunately we can't see that happening anytime soon. So for this to be a thing, they can win a scholarship, okay, which is just like what athletes are making now, but unfortunately I just don't see them making any dough for themselves. It's all about the program.
Maybe it is better that the players just get scholarships, because I feel like at that, a lot of those guys are young too. When you're going into college and that, you know, before 20, you're maybe not the best financially.
You said before 20.
Yeah, like a lot of these guys, you know, 18, 19, whatever. Right? I have no idea what you're talking about. But so it's like, maybe it's good that they aren't just given the money to spend on, you know, partying and fratting it up.
No, they're not.
They just get scholarships?
Anyway, whatever. Yeah, you would spend your money on parties.
That's what I'm saying.
Ugh,
no
so
money for these guys.
irresponsible, Brody Moore. Listen, now it's time to see what the top streamers are up to in Clip It. Our first clip comes from streamer Twiddles, embarrassed by her fans' actions and decided to let them know.
Like, whether or not you want to think about it or not like that, you are representing me. So whenever I host someone and you're being an asshole, you're making me look like an asshole. So, if I see that again, if I ever see you go into someone's stream and acting like that again, I will ban you here and you will never be allowed to be here again.
a little backstory. She hosted a friend and was mod when she noticed that one of her viewers was very toxic. So she obviously was embarrassed and decided to say something. So do you think streamers should ban their fans based on how they act elsewhere?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends if how they're acting elsewhere seems to be representative of you. If they're, you know, you find out a fan, you know their real name, and they're somewhere else in the world doing some dumb stuff, you know, like pranking people, and it's not good pranks. And it's just like, it's just a prank, bro. Those kind of pranks. And it's like, you have no responsibility there, because that person isn't doing that as a result of you, right? No,
but this person is going to another stream and representing her. She was hosting
That's what I'm saying. So in this case, yes, if you're hosting someone, you are sending people over to someone to make their day generally better. That's usually what you do when you host someone. And if people are going in there and being toxic, I've seen that with a lot of streamers out there before. I can't think of a few off the top right now, but there's a few streamers that they send it over and either egg on the people to be toxic or just know they're going to be toxic and do nothing about it. I think that's not fair online, because when you get a mob mentality like that going to someone else, when people are behind the computers, it's a lot easier for them to be even more toxic than they would just in general if you tell them to be toxic.
I mean, it's just frustrating from that streamer standpoint. It's like if you're behaving a certain way in my chat and then you go into my friend's chat and behave completely differently, or a total, can I say a-hole? A total a-hole in that person's chat, then you're misrepresenting yourself. Like, why are you part of my community behaving a certain way and then changing your tune completely? Like, which person are you?
Yeah.
Are you a dick?
Either way,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. That's what it comes down to. TLDR. Don't be a dick. So I agree. Yeah, no, ban them for sure. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to move on. Our next clip comes from Destiny, who was talking to his fans about the software he's using and showed them a little too much.
And then I can come over to this computer and I can turn the audio up or down. Oops, up or down on this computer. And it's super easy. And there's like, and I can do like different things with it as well, right? Like on OBS, like I have control over everything. Let's say I want you to. I can let you guys listen to like music on this computer, and I can mute my microphone. I can have it so that on OBS, I can mute one mic and not the other. Wait, clicked on stream? Wait, what did I click on stream?
So if you didn't catch it there, just a little, so because you missed it, I think the first time watching that.
But now watching it, I caught it.
Just he accidentally pulled up a little sexy minion.
Can you do the pose? Can you do the pose?
I don't remember. It was like.
No, out, but then like holding your.
I don't have long hair to do it.
This like the suspenders,
no, that's what was happening. Now, I can't tell if that was on purpose, because like, why do you have that open? Why is that open on your desktop right now?
Yeah, maybe it's the screensaver.
What were you doing before?
No, why can't that just be a screensaver?
That's not a screensaver. He had the image open on his computer. Like he had double-clicked that, or right-clicked and clicked open on his computer to have that open at that moment.
Maybe it makes him happy.
Word of advice to streamers out there, keep all of your naughty pictures on a separate computer that you use for streaming.
Brody knows from experience.
Yeah, I have a separate computer just for that.
Okay. I don't want to know about that.
Okay, then we'll stop talking about it. We're going to move on, though, to our profound thoughts, to our tweets from the pros. It's hard out there for a PIMP and also COD Pro Parasite, as he laments. I don't know why I feel the need to reply to meatheads in my mentions. I just hate when ignorance is directed towards me. I consistently perform versus top teams, and it's still not enough to please my critics, lol. Tilting.
Yeah, Clayster replied too. I mean, Clayster obviously has things. He says, I've just started saying F it and block any amount of negativity. It's cleaned up my mentions a surprising amount.
And then Parasite actually came back and said, can't do it because I just always want to prove them wrong, man. I just can't block out people like that.
Feels, yeah.
That's hard though. It's like, I have, Marissa,
what?
How many people have you blocked? I feel like your list is full, dude.
You know what? I actually don't like blocking people at
Okay,
all.
so
I actually don't like blocking people.
We're not going to use this mute button.
No, I know, I agree with you today. No, I don't like blocking people only because, okay, I've muted people, but then it's like I still see replies on the things that I tweet. So now I'm curious. I want to know what they said. Like, I don't even want to see the reply. So I don't even mute people anymore either. Like, you've got to be a real piece of work for me to block you. Like, people have actually even DM'd me, like, inappropriate pictures too. I don't even block them. Like, I just don't, if they're not actually causing me real harm in my life, which I've been lucky enough to not have up until this point in time, I don't really block. I notice that people block me though.
Do you really?
Yeah, on Instagram, because I have an app that says who blocks me. A lot of people block me. On Instagram, I don't get it.
There was a whole thing on Twitter where people were like bragging about who was blocking them. Like they would go and try to get blocked by certain accounts.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I get that. Rod Breslow, Slasher, was bragging that Thorin blocked him again. But those two go back and forth a lot. Always fun to watch the Twitter drama unfold, the blocking, especially with those two. But to continue on the theme of trolling, of course, Rainbow Six Pro Fox A has had it with you people. He says, quit sending me this stuff.
No, that's amazing, dude. So there's this actually, I wish I had come prepared with these, but someone actually did this like all the RLCS casters. So their faces of us just morphed into a weird shape. That seems to be a trend. What is with people though? That is a weird thing to get it. Like someone's actively sitting there with your face up on their computer late at night, morphing it into weird shapes.
I just love it especially because, you know, Fox A, he is our precious Canadian stud muffin. Like, he is just a stud. He, you know, is a good-looking kid. And so for someone to go in and just, like, mess with his face in such a way, I think it's hilarious. Obviously, he thinks it's funny, too, or else he wouldn't have tweeted it, so.
Actually, I gotta call him out. A guy in my chat, hopefully he's here, Heat Mike. Do it to her face.
What?
He's the one that did all of our faces.
Do you want me to give you a...
Or we'll find a picture online. We'll get something good. All right, we're gonna move on. To continue the tweets of stud pros, Italian stallion Zuma had a not so studly situation on his flight. Taking a leak in the airplane bathroom when the craziest turbulence of my life just happened. Very just say I miss the toilet a lot.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how you guys walk around with those things.
Carefully. Very careful. Yeah, bro, it's real though when because you don't want to sit on an airplane seat. Like you don't. That's. No. I feel like those are the ones where you squat if you're going to the bathroom, right?
Hold up. They
Especially
have that tissue.
No,
they have that
right.
tissue.
That's true.
You wipe the seat. You put the tissue down. That's when you actually should sit. I'm a fan of the squat also. I'm like a hover. I like to hover in public washrooms, especially because you just never know. But no, on the plane, you got to be careful with turbulence. Yo, Zuma, I don't like that. That's a real turn-off
okay, so I usually take my shoes off in an airplane, and now when I go to the bathroom, I'm going to be having my shoes on.
Oh my God, put your shoes on when you go to the bathroom, idiot.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson. Well, I didn't learn my lesson, but I don't want to learn my lesson.
Garbage is on the floor? I keep forgetting I'm not supposed to swear, sorry.
All right,
continue.
Okay, enough P-talk. We're going to move on into crowd controlled. We're going to start things off with something we can all relate to. This is from Reddit user Hecker69. Great name, by the way. This is fantastic. Every single one of us has bought a fresh new game and just gone back to our classic.
Yeah.
I mean, $50 is cheap for a game. Usually I spend $90. And then I'm back. Minecraft's probably not your game. I bet you right now I can tell you what your game is.
I don't get that.
You buy a game, like the expensive ping pong table there.
Okay.
And then you're not even playing it.
Oh, okay. I see. He bought the ping pong table.
Yeah, and you go, and then you're always going back to your game. And I'm gonna put money on. Oh, I was gonna say Stardew, but is your game Animal Crossing?
I love Animal Crossing so much. No, I just got The Division. I literally just got The Division 2. Do you think I played it? No. I went back to freaking Tetris. I'm going back to Clash Royale. I'm going back to Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
Yo, and then I tweeted that I'm like, yo, why am I interested in these games? Why do I always go back to these games? And then somebody replied, shout out if you're in chat actually. It's because you're a casual.
Oh, jeez.
Send me with the perfect gift. I'm like, okay. I can't even be mad because it's like kind of true. I really do fall back into these casual games just because they get their hooks into you. And I don't know if I would classify Tetris as a casual, but whatever. You gotta be kind of skilled to land top 5.
I guess technically everything can be played casually. The Division as well. It's not really a competitive game.
Yeah,
I'm trying to defend you from this person,
okay? We're being nice to each other today. That's weird.
This is weird.
Only one day we'll start the week off right. Moving on, I could not get enough of that Apex anime last week and had to show you what the Golden Guardians have been up to.
Uh-oh. if you want, there's more to that. If you want the rest of it, go to the Golden Guardians YouTube channel. Yeah. Secondly, that's just that was so good.
It was a shot-for-shot remake.
Screw 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
Talking about best branding. That Golden Guardians got it unlocked, dude. Huh?
It's completely different.
No, but this is, I know, but this is this content you need.
It's the content you need in your life.
This
I don't know if you need it, but it's nice. It's nice to have.
You're not into it.
No, I am.
Would you not watch a full anime remake like that?
A full one? No, I'd watch clips like that though. I'd watch clips like that.
All right.
That's really funny.
We need more of that stuff.
Okay,
fine. I love it. Anyways, we're gonna move on because I got a minute. I can't stop on the Halo hype. I love Halo. And trust me, no matter what you thought of Master Chief before, you're gonna love him now.
Ooh.
Little baby. That's a full size Master Chief. John 117.
Oh my goodness.
First off, can we...
Oh, she's a little scared. She's a little scared. Oh no, she's okay. She won't.
No, she's going.
Take a photo.
You cannot be afraid of Master Chief.
No.
Master Chief protects all that is humanity.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just gonna let you adore that for a minute.
I love that so much. He the thing is, like, he's totally still in character. Like, he is. That's exactly how Master Chief would be.
He's methodical.
Right?
Calculated movements. Blue Team was always, everything was planned out. It was slow. It was.
You know, if you think about it, like, those soldiers have been through a lot. Like, you know, they were taken from their homes, and they were just born and bred to be fighters. And the fact that Master Chief still has a heart, the fact that he's still such a good man with a good soul, like, that means something to me.
Now, I don't know who's in the suit, but like that, it was perfect. The height was because Master Chief is, I think, 6'7", 6'7" or 6'8" out of suit, 7 foot, 7'1" in suit, and that guy looked really tall. You can't do a Master Chief cosplay if you're not mad tall.
That's Brody's next goal in life.
Yeah, I would love to be Master Chief. He is all that is good with humanity.
I agree. Like the opposite of you. Listen, all right, we are drained from content, so we outie, let us know who you think had the better day today. Press 1 in chat for me, or 2 for Brody.
We'll see you next time, but until then, hit us up on our socials at Squad Stay. Get muted!
Since 2000, no first-person shooter has changed the world of video games as much as Halo. Microsoft's popular franchise is the most iconic game on the Xbox, with several sequels and millions of copies sold between them. And what's not to love about it? You have an original hard science fiction universe with a ton of cool weapons, aliens, and technology. The gameplay is phenomenal, with excellent multiplayer being the series' hallmark. And of course, you have Master Chief himself, one of the most memorable video game characters ever made. Unfortunately for fans, it's been a few years since we've gotten a new Halo game. And while we can patiently wait for the next game to come out, instead, let's get our Halo fix with this brand new mod that brings the franchise to one of the most in-depth simulators on the market. Operation Trebuchet for Arma 3. Let's make one thing clear, this mod is not about Master Chief, or even about the Covenant. Instead, Operation Trebuchet is set years before humanity's first contact with aliens, back when the UNSC was busy fighting insurrectionists. That's right, it's all human versus human here. That means, much like Arma 3, it's going to be pretty realistic. Well, as realistic as you can get with dropships, futuristic tanks, and fighting on multiple planets. You won't be playing as a Spartan. Instead, you'll play as an average grunt, much like the nameless ones who die alongside the Chief in every Halo game. And all the mechanics of Arma 3 are brought with it, including bullet drop, fatigue, and dying from a single bullet if you're not wearing armor. By changing the perspective of who you play as, Operation Trebuchet takes Halo where it's never gone before. Sure, you can't play as a Spartan, but you can just boot up Halo 5 if you want to play as one. Being a normal soldier is different, and lets you experience the franchise in a whole new way. It may have a different visual style from the Halo games, but it is still just as visually impressive. Just check out these battles. As impressive as Operation Trebuchet is, it does have some limitations. While Arma 3 does allow you to create scripted events and game modes, this mod is just an asset pack. So while you'll get new character models, weapons, maps, and vehicles, it's up to you to make the most out of it. Which, let's be honest, shouldn't be too hard. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got to go buy Arma 3 because I need some new Halo injected into my veins. Stat.
I just found out what a trebuchet was. today. Well, is today. Apparently it's stronger than a catapult. I don't know about that. Never tested either of them out. But maybe this mod is stronger than the actual Halo series. All right, I'm lying. It's probably not, but lots of fun. Let us know on our socials if you'll be checking this one out at Squad State all over our socials. Now in a bit, Lisa and Matt will be joined by Kold to talk all things League of Legends in esports in 30. But first, let's check out what happened in the green room earlier today.
Not the seaweed.
Did we get it?
That's a lot.
We did good. We did good. I was so tense.
Oh my god. Are you okay?
Well, technically,
I feel refreshed.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I feel like now you're awake.
Thanks
to Red Bull, who's also fueling the stream.
How did you do that?
But how, Lisa?
Yeah, how did you do that?
She went back like that.
I did.
It's like, we need to put, you know,
oh my goodness.
baby safety? Like, yeah, baby safety.
Or she just wear a helmet when she's on
Or
stream.
let's just put Lisa in a bubble. That'll
Yeah.
protect her from everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I need a helmet.
Yeah. Whenever Lisa's streaming, just.
Ow! Fun!
Lisa, you forgot floor strats.
Damn it!
No, you guys are getting 3 stars now.
We did before you came around.
Oh. You were the worst. Hold on, wait.
Worst in
Did I just pass the... Wait.
You okay?
Didn't we just...
My weave!
That's it.
Where?
I think I need health insurance for this room. Like, I've like hit my head multiple times.
Yeah,
Back
only
to
you
the
though.
front?
The next tower in the model side G2. Get the first one, but reckless and interstate. Get in the back door. Oh my God! SK Gaming in their return to the highest level of European competition will make playoffs in their first split.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Esports in 30. It's Monday, so we're talking League of Legends. I'm Lisa Dwan, and next to me is Matt Hempstead. So it was another crazy week in League of Legends. So Matt, what happened?
It was. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Europe and North America, but I think we need to touch on the LCK a little bit because Griffin, who was 12-0 and looked unbeatable throughout the entire split so far, actually lost both their sets this week. They lost to Gen G when they were, bottom of the standings,
right,
and Africa Freaks as well. So to me, it looks like they've kind of found their style, Griffin, and they've just been, it's working, so we're going to stick with it while other teams have adapted. And now finally Griffin has these holes. It's time for them to adapt, change their game style, and see what they can do going forward.
Oh, that's interesting. But now we got to focus on the LEC. So let's find out how week 9 went down, shall we? Who's getting that first round bye, who's sneaking into playoffs, and who's going home. So let's check out the highlights.
Looking for the play, the double knocker comes out. Reckless underneath the tower, perks to burst the ball. Nemesis gets it. Promiscu will follow up shortly after. Whipper forced away as well, but here comes the engagement. Hitler's locked up. Yeah! They get the shot. Nemesis is here. The color comes up. Nemesis here as well. Promiscu to the forefront. Hands the back. He gets the kill. G2 pushing mid. They have their bell warping. They're bell warping in. G2 are the base, the power buff though. They can get the recalls. How many can they stop? G2, you got to stop them all. You got to stop them all. They're in the base. G2 are looking for the win. Can they pull it off? The realm warp. Once again, the red wheel comes out. They wait. The next hit. The no way! The next tower to the bottom side. G2 get the first one, but reckless and interstate. Get in the back door. Oh my God! No flipping way! You can do that to them! Here, but now Ignore may have strayed too far. The TP coming in. Kold now trying to back it out. Afari finds the wall. Memento just deleted. Ignore next on the menu. Just going to walk him down and give Patrick the kill as well. Of course, Upset now trying to find the fight. Immediately going to go in. Nuke now trying to peel off. Of course, a lot of frontline damage. Mithy trying to get the fight started. That's the double man knockup. Now pulls back. Kold can follow it up. Nuke flashing forward. That's Death's Hand. Another one going to go down. Double for Nuke OG. A confident and clean game. Kill the Nexus and get one step closer to second place. holding off, starting the fight. Dream's gonna try to land the head of Overwatch. If that's a big slam, but that's gonna be massive. Now taking him down. Selfmade kicking him out. Crouch out manages to find the kill. Abadage desperate to get something back. Here comes the TP, but Odoamne needs to disengage. A massive cannonball could turn this one, but is he gonna go 40 flash? And he's trying to find it. He's trying to turn this game around for his team. He's gonna get one. He's gonna get two. As the Zonya's here, Selfmade available. Period coming in, perfectly timed, and he gets shut down. Abadage running in, desperate to get something back, but crouch shot kills him. That's the Quadra for Tristana. Find it. Where is Odoamne gonna go? They need that cannon ultimate. Upset, untouched on the backside. Still doing a lot of damage, but he's only hitting the front line. Crown Shot remains untouched. Period still alive. Warlord still alive. This is gonna be the Crown Shot show. SK Gaming and their return to the highest level of European competition will make playoffs in their first split.
The playoff picture in Europe is set, and after all is said and done, Origen secured second place and a first round playoff bye. To chat about a crazy week 9 at Origen's amazing spring split, we got Jonas Kold Anderson joining us. Congrats, Kold. How are you feeling?
Thanks, man. Feeling great. Obviously, this weekend turned out pretty much as best as possible for us. So yeah, it was a perfect week for us and a perfect ending to a good later stage of the spring split for us. So I'm pretty happy. Let's just put it like that way.
I mean, going into it, there was a possibility for a ton of tiebreakers. You guys had to face Schalke and Excel, and then even then there were potential extra matches against Vitality or Splice, but everything just kind of fell in your favor. So walk me through the emotions of this weekend. You know, how you guys managed to go 2-0.
Ooh, the emotions. Yeah, so I mean, going into this week, we knew that we didn't really have, it was not in our hands how it was going to go. We could only focus on what was in front of us, which was the 2 games. So we prepared as much as we could for the games, and I think we showed the performance that we were expecting from ourselves. So I was happy with that. But yeah, I mean, for myself, it was like already the week before we qualified for playoffs. So I was already a little bit emotional about that because it means a lot to me to go to playoffs. So we were after our game against Excel when we beat them, and we were watching the Fnatic and Splice series go on, and we were all sitting backstage and just like screaming, going crazy when we figured out that Fnatic won, and we made second place, which means that we go directly to Rotterdam no matter what. So yeah, it's kind of hard to put words into it, but it just means so much for us.
Yeah, I saw the tweet on Twitter. You did tweet out how it meant so much to you that you made it, which we're so happy to hear. It's so great. Let's talk about your split though, because Origen really turned it around. You guys ended the season now, I think 11-4. Is that or 12? No, it's 12. I think this.
12.
It's 12-4 now, I think. Oh, 12-6.
Yeah.
Right.
It started out pretty rough.
It did start out really rough. So what happened in the middle of the split that allowed you guys to like turn it around?
So we are a completely new team with players that have never played before. So sometimes a little optimistic to go into it and just be playing super well from the get-go. So we were actually expecting a lot from us from the start because our practice going into the split was going super well. Maybe a little bit too well, I would say. So when we got to the stage in the first couple of weeks, we were heavily underperforming, and some of it was because we were not, the things we had worked towards in the practice leading up to the split was just not happening the same way. And I think this is like a usual trend for some teams. So we just sat down and worked on the things that were not working out the way it should be. And I think we found our groove throughout the season. And now we are like a well-oiled machine. I think that's how a lot of analysts see us play, because we are not like the flashiest team. We like to do things slow and steady and take good decisions throughout the game. Not too many risks that can go either way, but make sure that we always are taking the right decisions to make us win. So I'm just fortunate to be in a position where I play with players with so much experience. Like we have people like Nuke Dog, people like Miffy on the team that brings so much knowledge that we can put together so we work towards the same goal. So I think it just came together throughout the season for us.
Yeah, and going into the split, there was a ton going on with franchising, right? I mean, there were a lot of good-looking rosters. Caps went to G2. Fnatic was still pretty much the same with Nemesis going in, and Misfits did their whole overhaul with their roster too.
The super team.
The super team, and look how that
Exactly,
turned
the
out. But let's not
super
get into that yet.
Yeah, but after that, this Origen roster with all these players coming from pretty good teams came together. But I don't think anyone really pegged you guys as being second place. So do you guys feel like you kind of exceeded expectations there?
I mean, we it's too early to say that. We still haven't started the playoffs yet, so
Sure.
We will see how it goes. But we sometimes there's a lot of analysts and people from broadcast that put out this team is gonna perform well, this team is not gonna perform well. Often, what comes down to it is how you mesh as players and as teammates. And we, from the get-go, when we met up as the new Origen squad, there was something unique about it in the way we are working together, that you just know that feeling when you mesh well together with your teammates, and that's kind of what we had from the start. So all of the players we have on Origen are super talented people that have shown glimpses of hope somewhere. So sometimes you just need to get in that situation where everything just works well together, and then it doesn't matter if some other teams maybe have more star power or looks better on paper, because in the end that doesn't really matter. It's how you're gonna work well together as a unit. So I think that's where we probably have shown that it doesn't matter if you're building a super team, hinting towards Misfits. In the end, it's how well you're going to work together. And I think Origen and Refresh made some very good preparation for us to succeed. So I'm just happy to be part of it.
For sure. Now we have to look forward with playoffs coming up. LEC introduced a new format. So what do you think about the new format? Are you a fan?
I mean, I'm definitely a fan if you're going first or second. So yeah, I mean, the format is obviously different. There is a lot more on the line in the regular season, because first and second place means way more. And I'm actually a big fan of it, because it means that people in the past there was always these excuses, as long as we make playoffs, it doesn't matter what place we are in the regular season games don't matter that much, blah blah blah. But now I think it's cool that it means a lot to get the first and second place, and it also meant that throughout the season there was a lot more on the line with every game, that you had to find a way to be stable in your performance so that you could ramp up the wins every weekend. So I like it. I think it's going to be cool. I'm also really excited for when we're going to play the finals, this split in Rotterdam, because we are not playing, there's not a third and fourth place match. It's basically you go there, and on the Saturday there's a semi-final, and whoever wins that will play the final the day after. So I think it's going to be super cool at the live event, because every game there has so much, there's so much more storytelling, and there's so much more excitement in the second game. I mean, in the first game of that event. So I overall love the changes.
And even for you guys now going into this match against G2, even whoever loses that match still has another chance to get back to the finals, right? So does this take a little bit of pressure off in your preparation and in your actual live event game there? Because now even if you lose, it's like, okay, we still have that second chance. So can you guys take some more risks now in that first game against G2?
I mean, definitely. I wouldn't say it takes more pressure off you, because we are still in a position where there is so much to gain from going to get the first place. So not only are you only having to play one best of series that weekend, but you get to see your opponent play the day before. And so even though it's definitely nice that you get a second chance. I think anyone in life would love a second chance once in a while. So it's great, but we are here in the playoffs to win and to win it all. So it doesn't really matter. I think if we can't beat G2 in the first game we play against them, then maybe we can't beat them in the final either. So we are very committed towards showing the best performance we have. If that's taking more risk or not, it doesn't really matter. we just want to show the Origen that we know we can be.
Well, that's so exciting. I'm actually getting so excited to watch those matches. But let's bring it back. Let's tune it back to talk about what happened in this past week, because we have to talk about that Fnatic versus G2 game. Did you catch it?
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a yes. That's a yes. Yeah. So why don't you give us a little recap for those maybe who missed it?
Yeah, so for anyone who didn't see it, I mean, Fnatic had this massive gold lead, about 8K early on, and then G2 held on. They finally got a good fight at Elder Dragon, and it basically ended in a crazy base race after Fnatic was going for Baron. They got it. G2 tried to go in for the backdoor, but then Fnatic counter backdoor. It was super hectic, and it was super messy. So just what are your thoughts on this end game situation, and like what's going through the players' minds in a chaotic situation like this?
EU Fiesta?
Yeah, Fiesta, exactly.
Yeah, so funny enough, a lot of people were going out and saying that this was a EU Fiesta, but I actually really, from a professional point of view, I actually really enjoyed watching that game, because there were so many small things that can go, that if it goes wrong, you instantly lose the game. And G2 was holding on for so long, and I actually thought at some point I was sure that they won the game when they won this fight around the Elder Drake, but then they couldn't end, and then there was a Baron fight, and Fnatic ended up winning with, I think, 2 seconds left on respawn time of the inhib. So it was just absolutely crazy. It's some of you are in those scenarios that you can't really prepare yourself for. You just need to go with kind of your gut feeling in the moment, and that's what happened to Fnatic. They went with the gut feeling and rushed to the base and ended the game. So I mean, those kind of games are just, I think as a League of Legends fan, it's just super fun to watch. It could have went either way. I still believe that Fnatic should be a little disappointed that they couldn't close the game with such a big lead. So I think what will be really interesting to see is, does this change if Fnatic and G2 is going to go up and play against each other in the playoffs? Like just the mental aspect of going into a series when this was the last game you played, where even though Fnatic won, I think mentally it's probably not as one, like it's not a big win for Fnatic, because G2 held for so long in a game where they should have lost in 25. So the game was just super cool to watch, and I loved every bit of it, and I'm excited to see if these two teams are gonna go up against each other in the playoffs again, how it's gonna go.
Yeah, especially, I mean, the way Fnatic was closing up the split 2 was so dominant, and G2's like the opposite end of the spectrum. They kind of struggled down the stretch. They finished with only 1 win in their last 5 games, and that's also your opponent in this first round. So how much do you read into their end of split struggles? Do you think it's actually a sign of like what's to come in this playoff series, or are they just, they locked up first place a while back and they've just been kind of hiding strats?
It's so hard to say, actually, because they obviously had to sub in Promiscu. Mickey was not playing the last couple of weeks, I think the last 3 games. And on top of that, they were locked first, so they didn't have that much to play for. But I think they definitely show some weaknesses, and obviously they will go out and say that it was because the games didn't matter as much. But they have been struggling a bit also with the fact that Miki had to be subbed out. They didn't have as much practice going into the last weeks as for example, us. So now there's going to be a long break. I think 3 weeks until we play them, little less than 3 weeks. So they can catch up a lot, but I think definitely they are not on the rise, and they don't look like the team from the start of the season where everyone was just like, how do you even beat this team, because they were just destroying you in 20 minutes. But nowadays it's very different. They do a lot more mistakes. They seem to not have too much strategy involved in that play. It's more just big muscles and brute force and just destroy the opponent. But if they don't do that, then they look weaker. So we will see. We have a lot of respect for them, and we know that you can't underestimate a team like G2. So we will see. I think the team that shows up the best on the day will be victorious, and I think it's going to be a close series when we're going to face them.
For sure. I mean, when you're so dominant for so long, you're waiting for someone to challenge you. Yeah. And maybe, that might be Origen to take that crown from them and see. So we'll have to wait. we don't want to get too cocky either way, you know. But let's throw to actually a fan question, because we asked social media, you know, if there's any questions for you, and we got one from Benji on Instagram, and I don't know if this is a troll question, it might be, but
a little bit.
A little trolly, I like it though. So he asked, how does it feel being under such a god analytical genius like Deficio? I need to know his true power. So I guess the question is more like looking to what does Deficio kind of provide for the team? What's it like working with him?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Deficio for so long. He was part of back way back then, maybe like 5-6 years ago when I was playing like in the Danish scene. He was around, so I've known him forever, and he's a good friend of mine. So I love working with him. He is very passionate about League of Legends. Obviously, I think that is something you can't deny from a guy like him when you have seen him on the broadcast for so many years. But for Origen specifically, he is the guy that was helping making sure all of everything involved us are functioning, from us players having a good relationship to making sure everything works with the organization, with us. So he's the guy that kind of does it all. So not so much about League anymore. It's more on the structure things where he's involved in that regard. But he bumps into us once in a while and gives us some tips on League and tries to help us when he can. But basically, the most important for what he brings is just he helped refresh that board, Origen, to have the best structure possible for us to perform. So he's a big, even though he's not showing a lot up on the team and when we are in Berlin and stuff, he's a big part of why we are succeeding. So I have a lot of respect for him, and I love working with him.
That's awesome. I actually just imagined Deficio always just standing behind all the players while they're scrimming, being like, "Why would you do this?" You know, like that's what I assumed. But I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, so we are playing from an office, and he is at the office, so we get to meet him almost every day. And he definitely likes to come by and watch us.
You feel the spirit.
Like Deficio, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, he is still the same Deficio, just in a different role.
Oh, we miss him on the casting desk, you know.
Sure.
But you know, it's amazing. Obviously, Origen's doing so well. So Kold, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course, best of luck in the playoffs.
Thank you. It will be exciting, and I think everyone should tune in for the LEC playoffs, because we have so many good teams, and it's gonna be a banger. I'm sure of it.
Oh, we'll definitely be watching. So, although the LEC has put a bow on its regular season, it was actually only week 8 in the LCS. So let's check out all the action as NA's best fight for the playoffs.
Cadian once again makes it towards the mid lane, forcing out the flash from Frog, and gonna be flashes following that one up in first blood over to Cadian. Yeah, contracts are already down. It means TSM has the numbers advantage. Why not go ahead and take that, turn it into something amazing, as Deathly's taken down. The Rek'Sai ultimate guarantees it, and that's exactly what they're gonna do now. They're going in. They've got the whole team ready to go. It's Frog, and into the stasis will not matter. There comes the spears. Acadian's unstoppable, also grabbing a kill down onto Ole. 26 minutes in. They'll take their revenge on the Golden Guardians and maintain firm control over third place.
We'll see if they can find it.
Final hour pop there for Sneaky. Smith going in the back. There's a good Galio, but I don't know if they can get enough here. So it's going in the backside as Phoenix able to get that kill onto Rek'Sai. Fox may just be too strong, but Sneaky still alive, shooting in the fight, but needs to get the kills on key member Solo, living for a little while longer. Phoenix still alive as Sneaky tries to dodge around it. Phoenix able to grab the quadra kill, and that's going to give Fox the victory.
The carries stand strong for Echo Fox, and they will upset Cloud9 here.
Doesn't go to the enemy Krugs, he goes to his Raptor through the fence, and he finds it! Torrent! There's no Spire here for the Skarner. You cannot fight without a Spire. Rip little Scorpion, I will see you later. Viper and Pobelts are trying to keep everybody away. Baron down to about 4K. Turtle looking to find a killing Smith, he's out! FlyQuest could likely secure the Baron here for themselves. Impact trying to go in, keep them away from this one if he can. Baron gonna be taken down with tower. Taken out! FlyQuest are right back in this game! Wild Turtle will provide the damage, putting auto attack after auto attack into the Nexus turrets. Pobelter getting himself away. Poor JJ gonna be taken low. Turtle and Viper on the next step. Ladies and gentlemen, Smoothie taken out. Smoothie taken very low, but CLG's in some trouble. TSM are finding health bars all over the place. It's Bio down. It's Power of Evil into the stasis. It's Darshan not able to buy the time. Power of Evil's out of there, and there comes TSM. Very difficult to get a lot of value. Smoothie's going in. Here comes your fight. They're able to find a lot of damage down onto Power of Evil at the start, and that is surely exactly what they need. And 2 kills over to TSM. Make it 3. The claw comes out. 6A runs back. Wiggly's back into the fountain now as well. And the streak continues. TSM take down CLG.
TSM does it again. Not only have they won 9 of the past 10 games, but they continue to dominate CLG. I think CLG hasn't even won a match since 2016, maybe, Spring Split, right?
Yeah,
That's correct?
It's been 3 years.
So is it really a rivalry at this point? Because CLG and TSM were like the rivalry of NA.
You know, the broadcast is going to keep trying to make it a rivalry so that they can try to sell this game, but in actuality, to be a rivalry, it actually has to have wins going both directions, and TSM has won 13 straight matches against CLG. So at this point, I don't think you can call it a rivalry at all, which is unfortunate because going back to like season 2, season 3, this is how, you know, LCS was founded, from the Reginald versus Hotshot GG and the legendary players, and now the rivalry is basically dead.
That's right. If you're an OG fan, you know back then that was the rivalry. Were you Team CLG or Team TSM?
CLG.
Yes, CLG.
There's only one right answer.
That's true. If you're a TSM fan, then you can leave. Yeah. Okay, I'm joking. So let's talk about TSM's success. So what has made them so successful this split?
Well, I mean, how many times have we heard the narrative that TSM doesn't do anything until the late game, right?
Too much.
Well, finally now it looks like they've actually changed that, and part of it is Acadian, who wasn't even supposed to be their starting jungler going into the year. It was supposed to be Grig, but all of a sudden Acadian came in, and he's been doing really aggressive moves, and I think it's also been the Smoothie subbing in for Mithy. Mithy obviously going back to Origen, and it's worked out for both teams, but for TSM, finally now they're doing things in the early game, and it gets them going. It makes sure that they're not just sitting back trying not to fall behind. Instead, they're playing for the win instead of just playing not to lose until like 30 minutes.
Right. What about Bjergsen? Everyone always talks about Bjergsen when we're talking about TSM. So has he changed how he played, or what has he done to step up?
He's been called it a lot in the past too for not roaming, right?
Yes.
That's always been his criticism, and all of a sudden now he is starting to do that. He's played Lissandra. This week he played Lissandra both games, 2-0, so very impressed by his performance. And that's one of the champions that lets you teleport out, help out, and just get that CC going in like roaming ganks. So I think he's done a lot of good on that champion.
Right.
And of course, just overall, he's moving around the map more, which is very important.
So with Bjergsen, it's almost like when you put him on a champion that requires him to roam and be more, you know, team, I guess, rounded. Yeah. He's able to do it. He just needs that champion.
Twisted Fate?
Ooh, that'll be a fun game to watch. All right, let's move on to Cloud9. Yeah. So Cloud9 actually played a game with Golden Glue. So what can we read into that? Like, are they better now with Golden Glue, or?
If it was any team other than Cloud9, we'd just be like, oh, they're just, you know, they're in second place. They're just going to try some new players out. But because it's Cloud9, and we saw what they did last year, they brought in the 7-man roster, Blabber and Golden Glue. Also spent some time last year, even subbing in for Jensen when he was on the team. So now Golden Glue came in to give Niski a 1-game break. Maybe just, can we put him in the playoffs to give us a little bit of a different look? I don't know, but Reaper loves to experiment with his roster, so we'll see if he actually uses this going forward. They lost that game, so it's probably not the best result if they actually want to use Golden Glue going forward. It's probably going to be the Niski show, to be honest, and I think they'll stick with a 5-man going forward. It was just another one of those, Niski, you played great, take a break.
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, when you kind of already have your spot locked in, it's a time to start testing the other players to see who can they can, you know, put in for playoffs if needed, right? So it might be one of those situations.
They also like to reward their players who have done really well in Academy, right? So Golden Glue, obviously, he's been one of these solo Q stars, Academy stars for a long time. We saw him last year. He did pretty well.
He did.
So give him another shot, let him play on the big stage, and then Niski get back in there.
Well, let's move on to FlyQuest, because big shocker, they beat Team Liquid. Yeah. Is that true? So explain this to me, Matt, because that doesn't make sense.
Okay, so FlyQuest, they fell behind early, right? Xmithy got the better of Santor, and it was looking pretty ugly, but they made some good macro plays. Viper had some great flanks to catch out Doublelift, who was on Vayne for the 2nd time that week. And it looked like their shot calling is coming together really well. FlyQuest, one of those teams we didn't know what to expect going into the year, because it's not really like these big name players, right? It's a bunch of guys who, they've got some experience, but we don't know what they're going to do as a team, and they've done a lot of good things. But for Team Liquid, you know, they've already locked up first. What do they have to play for? Basically nothing. So are they going to leak new picks? Are they going to leak new strats? Absolutely not.
So you think this is a strategy thing on Team Liquid side?
Well, they're just going to play what they've shown already. They're not going to show any new cards. So does that give them a bit of a lesser hand? Absolutely. But does that make FlyQuest win any less important? I don't think so. I mean, they clinched playoffs off that game, so that's a big deal for sure.
That's awesome. Now we have to talk about another team that I'm really sad about they're finally not making playoffs, 100 Thieves. So 100 Thieves are officially not in playoffs.
They're dead.
And I think didn't probably take to like Twitter to talk about it. It was so sad.
It was really sad. He seemed pretty emotional in the tweet, though I can't really tell emotional.
Yeah, you can read the tone. Totally.
Yeah, you can. But he was basically saying that the entire thing was his fault. I mean, the quote is, "This split is on me. I had a good roster to work with and couldn't create a winning team. Sorry to all the fans for letting you guys down. We'll start preparing for summer." Because they're officially eliminated after bringing in Bang, Someday, Afro. Look, this team looks amazing on paper, but something just didn't work. It's probably a bit much to say that he's entirely responsible for doing this. I mean, yes, he's the coach of a team that looks amazing, but at the same time, these players have to come together somehow in-game without him being the voice, right? He can't be there in-game to help them out. So he can't take all the blame. He can only do the draft and coach from afar.
Right.
You can't help the in-game product.
But I mean, as a coach, sometimes you hope that he's the one that like brings them together. But hey, hopefully next season they're able to do it, because I'm still kind of low-key cheering for them. All right, let's move on, because I think there's another week of NALCS before playoffs is officially like locked in and all that. So who do you think will be able to sneak into playoffs based on, I guess, upcoming games and all that?
Do I have to pick one?
You have to pick one. Yes.
I mean, they're going to be swept in the first round of the playoffs anyways, because, look, the team in 6th place is probably going to get in with 8 wins, like 8 and 10. That's not really hopeful for their chances. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably take CLG just because of the schedule they have remaining. Okay. It's pretty easy. They have a huge match against Echo Fox, which will basically decide it. But there's also a game against 100 Thieves, and of course, they haven't looked so hot, so they should be able to take that game home. And it's basically a 3-way race between CLG, Echo Fox, and Optic for that final playoff spot. And I don't know. I'm going to give it to CLG, even though none of those teams really deserve it, to be honest.
Oh, well, we can't have a playoff bracket with just 5 teams, right?
No.
So you got to choose.
Right.
Now let's move on to MVP, because we got to pick, I guess, the best playing player of the week. So Matt, who is your pick for this week?
This one was pretty easy. And
really?
I mean, SK Gaming had an absolutely amazing week. They went 3-0 because they had to have a tiebreaker game in which they won over Schalke to make it into the playoffs. So this one's going to Selfmade, the jungler for SK. He's been praised all year long for just being different, not doing the expected things, having different jungle routes, going to different places to gank. And it led with like an amazing stat line of 9, 7, and 24 in 3 games. And he's just been carrying the team all game long. I think every time they've won, he's basically been the player of the game decided by the broadcast, which is obviously a sign of just what he's done for them. So I think he's not only the player of the game, but maybe even the player of the entire split.
Wow.
They're not going to give him MVP, but he's been important to SK's growth. No one expected them to really be where they are.
Right.
And I think it's just been huge on his part to just get in there, do things his way, coming in from the challenger scene, and now just showing up.
So it seems like Selfmade is definitely the guy to be watching in playoffs, especially when SK do their matches. So now that the LEC is wrapped up, there is still more League of Legends happening.
Yes.
So what do we have to look forward to?
Well, obviously in the LCK, I mentioned Griffin off the top that, they had a 12-0 record going into this weekend, and then they lost both their matches. So what's going on with Griffin? Can they rebound? We'll have to wait and see what's going on with them. And then, of course, over in the LCS, huge implications on the line to see who makes playoffs. You got Echo Fox against CLG. You've got Optic versus the Golden Guardians. All these teams trying to fight for those final 2 playoff spots, because you've got Team Liquid, Cloud9, TSM, and FlyQuest already locked up. So there's just that 5th and 6th spot left.
Ooh, that's spicy. That means all the eyes are going to be on the LCS this weekend, as the LEC has a week off before playoffs. But that's all the time that we have for Esports in 30. Once again, thank you to Kold for chatting with us today. And of course, all of you for hanging out. So if you don't already, hit us up on all the socials at Squad State. We'll be back here tomorrow for some Overwatch League with AJ and Ron.
Rip every 100 Thieves fan out there. I know Lisa is a fan, and she is taking it pretty hard. So hopefully the team could just play better so Lisa doesn't have to cry and make a huge fuss in the studio. Remember, you can join us every day at 1 p.m. starting off in the green room with great gameplay. And thanks to Red Bull for actually fueling us while we're in there, because it gets pretty heated. Now tomorrow we're back at 8, where we have more reported, unmuted, and the loadout, where we're going to take a look at the games releasing this week. Plus, AJ and Ron are back to break down some Overwatch with Esports in 30. And remember, we're always available on our socials at Squad State. Until next time, see you tomorrow.